You hear the name Ferrari, and what comes to mind? Speed, right? Luxury, victory? But this is the story of the man behind the legend.
I mean, today, the brand is just this global titan, right? A legend born on the racetrack. It's the absolute peak of engineering. But you can't separate the legend of that prancing horse from the sheer will of one single man.
Yeah, this isn't just about fast cars. It's about a man who lost everything, got rejected when he had nothing, and somehow he turned all that pain into an empire that would take on the world.
So, let's get into it. To really get a handle on Enzo Ferrari's insane drive, you gotta go back to the beginning. And his story, well, it doesn't start on a racetrack. It starts with a world completely shattered by tragedy. Just think about this. By the time he was just 20 years old, his entire world had fallen apart. First, his father died from pneumonia. Then, just a year later, his brother was killed in the Great War. And then Enzo himself gets discharged from the army with a case of pleurisy so bad it nearly killed him. He was completely and totally alone.
So with literally nothing left for him in his hometown, he grabs a letter of recommendation and heads to Turin. You know, the heart of Italy's car industry. He has one last hope, getting a job at FIAT. Imagine this. It's the dead of winter, 1918. He walks into their offices, and they basically tell him, thanks but no thanks. Just shown the door.
And that was it. That was rock bottom. He later said, I found myself on the street. I let myself fall onto a bench. I was alone. Despair overcame me, and I wept. I mean, can you even imagine sitting on a frozen bench, no family, no job, nothing? But here's the crazy part. That moment of total despair, that wasn't the end. It was the brutal, painful start of everything.
Okay, so from that absolute low point, something ignited in him, a burning desire that would literally define the rest of his life. He wasn't just looking for a job anymore. He was going to build a purpose.
And he moved fast. He got work with some smaller outfits, and people started noticing, this guy can drive. Before you know it, by 1920, he's racing for the legendary Alfa Romeo. But here's the twist. He quickly figured out that his real talent wasn't behind the wheel. It was leading the team. So by 1929, he found Scuderia Ferrari. But get this, it wasn't to build his own cars. Nope. It was to manage Alfa's entire racing operation.
And this is where we get to the core of who he was. Enzo had a very specific word for himself. He wasn't an engineer, he said. He wasn't a designer. He was an agitatore, an agitator, an instigator. Think about that. He saw his job as stirring things up, creating problems, and pushing people to their absolute limits. Also, his team would be the one to find the solution first.
And right there, that's the genius of the man. He knew he didn't have to be the one designing the engine. He just had to be the one to find the genius who could, and then push that person harder than anyone else. That was his superpower. So, he's mastered leading a team for somebody else. What's next? Well, you can probably guess. He wanted to build a dynasty with his own name on it, to create an empire from scratch, fueled by nothing but his own force of will.
And you can see the pieces just start falling into place. In 32, he gets that now famous prancing horse symbol. By 39, he finally splits from Alfa Romeo and starts his own company. Then, after the chaos of World War II, in 1947, it finally happens. The very first car with the name Ferrari on it rolls out of the factory in Maranello.
But, just building the car wasn't enough. Not for Enzo. To really prove himself, he had to do one more thing. He had to beat the very team that created him, Alfa Romeo. He called Alfa his mother. This wasn't just business. For him, this was deeply, deeply personal.
And that showdown finally happened on July 14th, 1951, at the British Grand Prix. For the first time in Formula One history, a Ferrari beat the unbeatable Alfas. His little startup team had done the impossible. The student had surpassed the master. And his reaction tells you everything you need to know about him. He said, I wept with joy, but mixed with my tears were tears of pain, because that day I thought, I have killed my mother. Wow, it wasn't just a happy victory, it was bittersweet. He'd created this amazing new thing, but in doing so, he felt like he destroyed a part of his own past. He was free, sure, but it cost him.
So, you'd think that would be enough, right? Nope. That victory didn't satisfy him. It just made him hungrier. This was the real beginning of his philosophy. Win no matter the cost. A philosophy that would build a legend for sure,
but also leave a lot of wreckage behind.
And I mean, just look at the results. 15 Drivers' Championships, 16 Constructors' Championships. Under his leadership, Ferrari became the most successful team in F1 history. These aren't just numbers on a chart, people. They're monuments to his obsessive, single-minded vision.
So how did he pull it off? Well, they called it the Enzo method, and it was as ruthless as it was successful. See those beautiful road cars? He sold them for one reason and one reason only: to fund the racing team. He ran the whole show with an iron fist, pushing the rules to their absolute limit. And from his drivers, he demanded everything: total, absolute dedication and sacrifice.
And if you want to understand his mindset, it all comes down to his most famous quote: "The most important victory is the next one." That's it. He never stopped to celebrate. The moment one race was over, he was already thinking about the next. The past didn't matter, only what was next.
Enzo Ferrari died in 1988 at 90 years old. Think about that journey, from a broken young man weeping on a park bench to an absolute titan of industry. His life is just proof that incredible ambition can grow from incredible pain. He was a creator. He was that agitator, and yeah, sometimes he was a tyrant, a really complex guy who left behind a very simple legacy: winning.
His entire life became this relentless chase for that next victory. He took all that loss, all that pain, and channeled it into a single focus. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it, that maybe our biggest challenges can become our greatest strengths. So I'll leave you with this. What's the next victory that you're chasing?